You know what time it is, money, power, politics. And as usual, we're asking the question, is this White House for sale? A deal between the Pentagon and a 2-year-old rare earth mineral startup is facing fresh scrutiny. Last year, the Pentagon announced it would give a $620 million loan to Vulcan Elements, a company you might not know, but here's something. It's linked to Donald Trump Jr. At the time, the president's son, the Pentagon, and the company's founder all denied any allegations of political favoritism that swirled around the deal. But interviews and records reviewed by ProPublica tell a very different story. According to ProPublica, the request to loan hundreds of millions of dollars to Vulcan was made by a one Peter Navarro, a White House advisor and longtime friend of the Trump family. Of the dozens of companies the Pentagon was considering funding at the time, Vulcan was the only deal initiated by a top aide to the president. That is according to an official at the Pentagon who was not authorized to speak publicly. One person involved in the deal said that after defense officials got the White House request, they asked Pentagon staff to move at an unusually rapid pace and that staff worked late nights with little sleep to get the loan through in a matter of weeks. Neither Navarro nor Vulcan responded to requests for comment. And a White House spokesperson said the administration is working, quote, in the best interest of the American people, end quote. Back in January, Democratic senators sent a letter requesting information on whether the Defense Department's decisions on contracts associated with the president's son, including Vulcan, may have been affected by conflicts of interest. Now, I want to be absolutely clear. It is smart policy for the Trump White House to encourage development of rare earth minerals here, much like the Biden White House did by promoting U.S. semiconductor manufacturing here. But here's the problem. If people in or close to the White House profit off these investments, you know what that is? It is corruption. And by taking direct stakes in companies, it is raising concerns that the administration is picking winners and losers. And some of those winners could have close ties to some of them. Rohit Chopra joins me now, former director of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and starting this summer, California's next consumer cop, and my dear friend Brendan Greeley, contributing editor for the Financial Times. His new book, The Almighty Dollar, 500 Years of the World's Most Powerful Money, is out now. Okay, Rohit, what is your reaction to that?
Well, we actually, like you said, need to have rare earths in this country.
Yes, let's
do it. We need
to
be able to do everything with it to make everything we need. But
we don't want to be dependent on other countries, certainly not China.
But here's what's going on, though. Every single company now sees a big business opportunity to put Donald Trump Jr. on its board.
For sure.
We have seen even my former agency, the CFPB, just dropped an investigation on a company that Donald Trump Jr. has joined the board of. We know that he has sent the Commodity Futures Trading Commission to sue states trying to regulate prediction markets where Donald Trump Jr. is an advisor.
To both Kalshi and Polymarket, not just one.
That's right. And now we are seeing them screw around with our defense budget at a time when we should be actually using that money ever more carefully.
Brendan, it is fair to say, or okay, I'm only going to speak for myself. I'm a lifetime fan of smart capitalism. I happen to love free markets. And we hear over and over that this is a pro-business administration. However, when the government takes direct investments in companies and are picking winners and losers, especially in a new industry, this could put taxpayer dollars at risk for companies that might not deserve it and companies that would benefit and investments that would benefit the president and his family. That is not how free markets work.
Yeah, first of all, I can confirm, Steph, I've known you for a long time. You do love free markets. Absolutely.
I do.
We're all clear on that. Look, we have to make these investments. As Rohit pointed out, like these are important investments. There has to be a process in place to distinguish between the appearance of corruption and the existence of corruption. Now, these processes, they exist. One thing that we could do is get in touch with the Inspector General for the Department of Defense. The problem is that was one of the Inspector Generals that was fired days after the second Trump administration came into power. So now we don't have that avenue. They've installed somebody who's a lawyer in the first Trump administration and doesn't have any experience as an Inspector General. It's very clear that he is designed to prevent these kinds of investigations and not lead them. Okay, so then Congress could exercise its oversight. The Democrats have requested that Donald Trump Jr. appear before them to explain this. They were blocked blocked by Republicans in Congress. So we don't have the tools to distinguish between the existence and the appearance of corruption. And that makes this kind of procurement, which is so important, so hard to figure out. Look, Hunter Biden was problematic. It looked bad. This is Hunter on an industrial scale, and we don't have the tools to get to the bottom of it.
I want to talk about Dell. New topic. The company just won a nearly $10 billion deal with the Pentagon, and this is just a few months after Michael Dell and his wife Susan Dell donated more than $6 billion to launch the president's Trump accounts, for American children. Now, the Pentagon told reporters it was a competitive bidding process. They didn't get special treatment. But the problem is, given all that's swirling around all of this, Vulcan is just one example. Doesn't that make one question every possible deal? Like, man, this seems convenient.
Yeah, this is the problem, is you lose all trust in it, and you signal to every single company, big and small, that if they want to support our Defense Department, that they need to suck up to the president, give a donation to a banquet table at a ballroom, or otherwise pay someone in the family off. This is going to create a huge cloud. And I will tell you, I think you're going to see a lot of people, including a lot of Democrats, look to want to unwind every single one of these deals if power changes hands. Listen,
we heard when JP Morgan didn't write a check for the ballroom, Jamie Dimon said, Trump's not going to be in power forever. And come a new administration, whenever that is, they will come knocking and say these deals stank. Brendan, let's stay on Dell, though, because Dell shares popped 27%, almost 30% tonight after the company reported its fastest pace of revenue growth for any period since it returned to the public market. That makes Donald Trump, who just bought Dell shares, a huge slug of them in the first quarter, according to his own filings with the U.S. Office of Government Ethics, a giant financial winner. And just this month, earlier this month, the president was at a White House event, and he looked out and urged people, he said, go out and buy a Dell. What do you make of this? Again, this is not how free markets capitalism is supposed to work.
I think what's so fascinating about this, Steph, is that Trump can't prevent himself from the smallest of grifts. He doesn't need this. Right. The president, he is, maybe he's not as wealthy as he says he is, but he is by all objective standards a wealthy man. He does not need to front run day trades on Dell. He just doesn't. And so what's so fascinating about this administration and terrifying about this administration is that they're not even concerned about the appearance of impropriety. And Donald Trump cannot stop himself from picking up nickels off of the sidewalk on what are essentially day trades. I don't know how you build a political coalition against an administration that is so disinterested in avoiding the appearance of corruption that they can't even be bothered to sort of attempt to mask
what's going on. We have to go, but Brendan, here's why they don't care. Because they are legitimately laughing themselves. They're laughing all the way to the bank. Almost not literally, but figuratively, for real, they are.
It makes you realize that the only thing that was holding this up was restraint by previous presidents. That's it.